Good morning. This is my top 5 pieces of equipment for Japan. Um, Fun pieces of equipment. And my number 5 is the bamboo stick. And that is not because really fun to face bamboo warriors. It's not. You can, sit down at a table and there's like 80 or 125 dudes with bamboo sticks. They can't shoot. It's very ahistorical and it's not very fun. But isn't it isn't it entertaining that one of the most OP units in the game is basically just a dude who's been in his garden and cut a stick? I mean, that it's just insane. And what are they doing in World War II? They belong on some medieval battlefield somewhere, as the poor man's militia. So yeah, that just it tickles me every time a bit. So number 5, the bamboo stick. Number 4, again with a stick, the bomb stick, and that's mainly because the miniatures are so fun to look at. It's those suicide anti-tank bomb dudes, and one of them has this long stick where there's an anti-tank mine attached to the end of it. That seems like that's such a strange weapon, isn't it? It's so weird. Who came up with that? And it looks awkward and top heavy, and again, just a fun little quirky piece of equipment that it's not very good to use. Japanese suiciders is a bit difficult because you have to be able to charge the tank, right? So it's not OP in my opinion, but it's there. It sort of works, and it just looks fun. My number 3 is, and there we get into some equipment that's actually good. It's the Horo. The Horo is it's fun to play. It's open top, so it's not really easy. It'll get pinned quite easily. But the Horo is really good, and it's fun in your list, and it has a lot of shooting power, which is rare with Japanese. So the Horo is my number 3. My number 2 is not something that has an actual use in most armies, which is the swords. In a Japanese army, you can equip your officers with samurai swords, and those swords will make your officers tough fighter, which is really, really cool, because most Japanese officers carried samurai swords. They may not have used them in battle, but they were enough of a threat that the American soldiers after World War II, when they disarmed Japan, they actually collected tons of samurai swords, and many of them were unfortunately destroyed, and several others were taken as souvenirs, which was a pity because many of those swords were actually family heirlooms, like and centuries old. So the samurai sword, it's a fun piece of equipment. It doesn't really again belong in World War II, but it really is iconic for the Japanese army. Number 1. Number 1 is a piece of equipment that I've learned to love in the Japanese armies, or hate when I'm facing it, and it's the light mortar. It's a light mortar is not very good, right? It's not a very killy weapon or something, but try having 3 in a Japanese grenadier unit, and then just have them shoot at you 3 times. That's almost 50% chance that they'll hit, right? Because he's rolling 3 dice, and if he hits you, you get pinned. You may even go down or whatever, and the next turn he'll hit you again, and they can sort of make indirect fire, so they're shooting in. So each time that they do that, becomes more and more likely that they'll hit you, and once they start hitting you, there's no getting out. I love those grenadier units. They're very, very expensive. I mean, for 3 light mortars, you're paying 60 points. doesn't work out in a competitive environment, I think, but they are so hard and so much fun when you're playing them, not when you're facing them. So that is my number one for Japanese most fun pieces of equipment. Cheers!